Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 313 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe.
My name is Summer Rain.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest returning to our episode today. We've got the wonderful Chris McKeever back on the show. How's it going,
Thank
Chris?
you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I'm happy to be here.
We're very, very glad to have you, Chris, because we have a very special and kind of ridiculous that we haven't done this episode yet episode of the podcast this week. We're going to be talking all about Super Nintendo World and Nintendo parks in general, the kind of theme park side of the whole Nintendo oeuvre, where we think they might go in the future, and some recent experiences that we, the hosts, and here a parks expert that we also have in Chris McKeever on the show as well. We're going to be diving all into this topic. I can't wait to talk about it. Before we get into the main topic, though, we do have some news that we're going to be covering. Lots of stuff going on at the moment. GDQ is happening. We have some updates on the Xbox situation. Not very good news there. Also, there are potentially more games coming to Nintendo 64, Nintendo Classics. We're going to break it all down. There's lots to talk about, so we're going to get into it. But before we do, how are we doing? How are our weeks? I know, Summer, we'll be getting into a lot of what your week was, but how are you doing this week?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say it. We're doing a parks episode because I finally, or not, I shouldn't say finally, it's been open for 5 weeks. I got the opportunity to go to Super Nintendo World in Florida this past week. So while I was there in Florida, so this is my now annual trip of visiting my friends. There are some friends in Florida that host this giant group of friends that is basically a Fire Emblem friend group. It, of course, has expanded beyond that. Most of us are generally Nintendo lovers. So when we weren't at the park, we were at their house, hanging out in the pool, being in our Fire Emblem cosplays, doing our Fire Emblem presentations, filks, shenanigans with each other, just having a general really good time. Yeah, I prepared like basically a 10-minute performance that was based around Archbishop Rhea from Fire Emblem Three Houses. It was super developed, and like I'm happy to share it with anybody. Like if you want to reach out to me, it was like the most involved fandomness that I have put into like a piece of work like that, and like getting to do that with like friends like this was just super fun experience.
One day I hope to have a group of friends that I can have destination get-togethers with for our niche hobbies. That sounds like a really fun time. I guess I've got some. You made your own little con, that sounds like.
Basically, that's it. It does have a name. It won't make sense if I say it on the podcast.
Cool. We don't want to dox
niche.
it anyway. So
yeah, that part too. But
Rando showing up to your made-up con.
But we were rolling 20 deep at the park, so that was it was awesome.
I think that's what's officially known as a posse. Anyway, I had a pretty good week too. I do want to take a moment to, we're here in Central Texas, and give our condolences to many of the people that over this weekend lost their lives in the Kerr County area. There were crazy rains all throughout this weekend, and the death toll is still rising. We'll have links to a way you can donate in the description of this episode. Everybody around me, everyone I know in like Travis County is fine, but we did get a ton of rain this weekend for this like 4th of July weekend. But on top of that, did my best to go out and do some celebrating, even if it wasn't for the state of the country as it currently is. I did go to a Jaws party on the 4th of July. So we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the movie Jaws and nothing else on that day. But that was really fun because that was over at my buddy Matt's house, who works at Retro Studios. So I got to hang out with a bunch of Retro Studios employees. So that was pretty cool. So I've got hella scoops that I'll be dropping. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to break any. First of all, they didn't break NDA. Retro Studios employees are very well trained on not revealing company secrets. But it was a really great bunch of people, and it was a super fun time. And also, I went to another party as well on Saturday. It was kind of just back to back. But it was a good time, all told. And now I've just been kind of relaxing and exhausted after such a party-filled weekend. But what about you, Chris? You have a good weekend?
Sure, yeah. Rainy, as described, horrifically in some places.
Yeah.
I ended up on Sunday helping the cleanup of Fallout Theater, which got flooded in all of the weather. So that was most of my weekend. But it was other than that, it was too rainy to move from my couch.
Sometimes those are nice gaming times, right? That's really nice. I did use the rainy weather to finish a book this weekend. So for those wondering, I do know how to read and write. In fact, we'll talk about that later at the end of the show.
If I finished a book, I would just brag about it constantly.
That's true.
You know what I did this weekend? I finished a book.
And I close it and I went, bonk. Whenever you're done, that's the best part of finishing a book. When you close it, it goes, bonk. Anyway, we're going to get into the news here. But before we do, I do want to give a little bit of shout outs. We got a couple nice things shouted out to us in the Discord, one of which was from friend of the show, Weist, who said that the latest episode had her officially deciding to buy a Steam Deck before buying a Switch 2. An interesting takeaway, but not a wrong one. I would say a Steam Deck is still a very good purchase, and that is a console that still feels very modern. Also said a lot of things about how the modern Nintendo era doesn't have a lot of the kind of charm of like kind of chat features and, you know, the everybody votes channel and sending people messages on your Wii and the Wii lighting up blue. Like that stuff was kind of magical back in the day, and it seems like we could go back to a little bit of that with the Switch 2. That would be nice. Also, Scary Fingers 101 on YouTube said that they do dearly wish that they had the option to do traditional style in Mario Kart 8 they were referring to, but also think that a lot of people are hugely underestimating how unique some of the intermission tracks are. And this is kind of in reference to what we were talking about with the updates to Mario Kart World, which had a lot more intermission tracks showing up in the online verses. And I do agree with you, Scary Fingers. There are some really cool ones. One here that Scary Fingers points out is Whistle Top to Choco Mountain has this gigantic tornado that sends you flying into the next part of the stage. And there are a lot of really cool parts like that in the game, but there's also like 200 intermissions, and a lot of them are just straight lines. So I think a lot of why people still are upset is like, who knows if you're going to get a good that's hard to say. Who knows if you're going to get a good intermission when you're playing, but sometimes you do. It's hard to memorize because there are so many. Anyway, there's a lot we can go into. That's not what this episode is about, so we'll move on. But thank you for the shout outs. If you too would like to be shouted out, we would love to hear from you. So leave a comment on social media or in the comments of this YouTube video. Give us a review on Apple or Spotify or anything like that. Shoot us an email. Share the show with a friend or on Reddit or anything like that. And we'll also talk at the end of the show about a Patreon that we have, our Discord and Facebook group. We would love to hear from you in all of those as well. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the news, because like I said, we have a good bit of it. We're going to start off with some good news before we jump into the negative stuff here. That being that Summer Games Done Quick is officially on. It started this past Sunday, right? Was it yesterday? I think it started yesterday. We're recording on a Monday here. And it's going to be going all week. So it'll be about half over by the time this episode comes out, but you could still catch the last half. It is a speed running marathon that's all done for charity. I think it is supporting Doctors Without Borders this go around. But are any of you guys fans of SGDQ? Have you caught any of it this year?
I haven't started watching it. I didn't realize it was happening, but now that I've been told I have the rest of the week to watch it, I do love a GDQ. I'm a big I don't know if you ever watch those like Summoning Salt documentaries.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with any sort of niche underground thing I love, and speedrunning fits very neatly into that.
Yeah. It's a great time to like learn about some new games you've maybe never heard of that have like super deep fan bases as well. I love that aspect of the show. What about you, Summer? Have you caught any of it this year so far?
Yeah, no, I haven't had the chance to catch any of it yet, but I am looking forward to some streams. At the time that we're recording, there is a Blueprints bingo happening tonight. Love a bingo, so definitely going to be catching that.
Yeah. It's always a balance. I'm like, I watch until the point where I don't want to be spoiled anymore, and then I have to like shut it off really quickly. It's a fun time.
Of Blueprints specifically?
Well, for that one, I'm a little worried about, because I put that game down for a few others and never picked it back up. But maybe one day we'll see what happens. I do quite enjoy that game. There were a couple of great ones I saw today. There was an Order of Ecclesia Castlevania run, which was very exciting, especially at the very end of that run. And a couple from yesterday were fun too. But definitely check that out if you haven't yet. It's always a really good time, and give generously because it all goes towards a good cause. Next up, we want to get into some of our non-Nintendo and sort of bad industry news here. And this is kind of a follow-up to what we talked about last week on the show, which was this kind of incoming layoffs. We actually called it on the day. We were like, yep, it's coming out. These layoffs are going to be happening on Wednesday. And sure enough, they did. Over 9,000 employees were laid off from Microsoft in the latest round, most of them from the gaming division at Xbox. There's a lot of stuff to go over here. And in fact, Jordan, who puts the notes together every week, has quite a bit here of detail. But before going into some of that, did any of you have any thoughts on just any of these layoffs?
I think you should get healthcare even if you don't have a job.
Yeah, I don't think that's too controversial of a statement. I agree. I think that if you're laid off, especially, you should continue to have your healthcare for quite a while, at the very, very least. I'm going to be running into that come August. Cobra. Pretty expensive, if you guys are familiar. A few of the games that were straight up canceled, one of them was Rare's Everwild. This was a game that had been in development for quite a while. It looked to be an open world RPG of sorts. I was really looking forward to this game. Really sad to see. One of the original founders of Rare as well, I think Males was his name. Something Males, has left the company over the cancellation of this game. Perfect Dark, the reboot that was being made by the Initiative, I believe, was the studio, along with help from, I'm pretty sure, IDOS and a couple other studios as well. That was completely canceled. We'd seen a giant vertical slice of this at a recent Xbox event, and it was looking really good. It was looking solid, man. And this was completely shuttered. A couple others. There was an MMORPG from the Elder Scrolls Online team that was canceled. A new John Romero first-person shooter. He had a whole studio that was being bankrolled by Microsoft. That is kind of up for grabs on whether or not they're going to continue working. John Romero just put out a statement talking about that. And, there's obviously countless other things as well that we've never heard about that I'm sure were canceled in this as well. But I don't know exactly what to say here. Obviously, AAA development has become completely unsustainable, and we're seeing this more and more, and we thought that this was not going to continue happening, and then all of a sudden it happens, and it's kind of in an unprecedented state. Summer, do you have any thoughts on just some of these games that were canceled and maybe what the culture is like at Microsoft right now? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of these do feel like, other than Everwild, a lot of these games that did get shut down do borderline feel like shareholder games that were like, this is what the shareholders wanted to see, and now they don't care anymore, and that's why they're getting canned. You know what I mean?
I think so.
You get the you get the vibe that like, oh, these are the games that are doing well, so we need you to make this right now.
Right.
And then like getting canned because they're like, oh, that's not actually what we want anymore, regardless of what stage of development that it's in. The state of Xbox right now fucking sucks, and I think morale is at public image and morale is down for sure. And I truly don't know how they're going to save face, or how they can with this.
Yeah, we're getting kind of calls more than ever for Phil Spencer to step down, right? And I think that, obviously, whenever stuff like this happens, people look to the heads that this stuff. And a lot of this has also been saying that, a lot of the news going around has been saying that, word came from higher up at Microsoft, right? And this was not Phil Spencer's decision. But still, I don't think that Phil has shown any sort of competence or grace in the past, I would say, year or two in his management of Xbox, and has not really proven his ability to lead properly at the company.
An executive without competence or grace?
Yeah.
Surely not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we'll get to some ways that some people might be changing that in a bit, but yeah, absolutely.
There is a fear that we know at least Phil Spencer is a gamer, that if he were to leave, chances are he's going to be replaced by someone even worse.
Yeah.
I don't see them getting somebody who's even more of a gamer than Phil Spencer, or a better leader, so to speak. But yes, at the same time, he has not we haven't heard or seen anything from him that shows that he is capable of sticking up for the industry, so to speak.
And it's not just him. It's obviously Sarah Bond and Matt Booty as well.
Yeah, sure.
Are two of the big wigs there. Also, I think somebody looked it up because Phil Spencer's like game list is public. Like he was playing Indiana Jones in the Great Circle, like when the emails went out to all the employees. So he's having fun.
That's crazy. That's crazy that we can like check for that.
Yeah.
Like
a little dystopian.
When I realized, literally, I made my Xbox play activity private when I realized how much time I was putting into Balatro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
hey, Phil,
you know,
Phil, you might want to follow suit, buddy. That's not a great look. That's all I'll say.
Seriously. Oh my gosh.
The charm of you being one of us has long since passed. I'll say that. But anyway, there's obviously more we could talk about. We could, get more into this. And I think that we should, obviously, but, it's pretty old news at this point, and I think we should probably move on for the sake of time to another bit of AAA. Another AAA bubble waiting to crash, and that being with EA. Battlefield 6, there's been kind of some reporting coming out that their expectations for this game are astronomical, like way beyond what's possible. Basically, the game has a reported budget of over $400 million, which is pretty fucking big.
Cocaine is back, baby.
Yeah. Still only 2/3 of the budget of Andor seasons 1 and 2, but still. They basically have said that their expectations are 100 million player count, which I don't know that any game gets those kinds of numbers. Like, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know what Fortnite gets, but they want 100 million players, right? And the series best so far is 30 million. So obviously this game kind of feels like it's being set up to fail. This has happened time and time again. We've been seeing this, like, I think it was the Tomb Raider series. Square was like, it needs to sell like 25 million copies to break even. And like the most they've ever sold was like way, way less than that, right? So this, like, if you're an EA employee or you work for this company making the new Battlefield game, it might be a good time to already start looking for another job. But you guys have any thoughts on this?
They expect to more than triple their current fan base.
Yeah, apparently.
Because I'll tell you right now, I have no interest in playing it.
Yeah.
So that's one less than the 70 million they need.
Two less. Yeah. I don't care.
I actually, what's funny is I actually do quite like Battlefield. Like, I think out of the Call of Duty Battlefield oeuvre, I gravitate more towards Battlefield, and apparently the rumors are that this would have a Warzone style battle royale as well. So if that aspect of the game is free to play, then that would be a good reason why we could see more than usual player base on a game like this, right? But still, I think this kind of goes to show what we've just been talking about with Microsoft. So anytime I hear anything that kind of continues to repeat these trends, my butthole starts to pucker a little bit when thinking about all the job loss that is soon to be imminent. But we'll have to see if this game turns out to be a 100 million player battle royale extravaganza, but I'm kind of doubting it for now. We'll go ahead and...
Do we know what game has the biggest player base?
I mean, I can look that up. It does look like right now it is PUBG. I think PUBG has the biggest player base still to this day. I mean, there's other ones as well, like, Pokemon Go and like mobile games and stuff like that. But I know that PUBG has long since had one of the biggest player bases, and I'm sure Fortnite is up there as well. I think at its peak, like you're looking at around 100 million. I mean, that's probably where they're getting their numbers. They're probably just like looking up the highest number.
This is the best game that's ever gonna be.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if they're putting the new Battlefield on every mobile device, every console, and they're making it free, and it does Battle Royale better than Fortnite and PUBG, maybe they'll make it work. But we're going to have to move on for now because I don't think any of that is very likely. To Nintendo. They had an investor Q&A. Now, I'm not going to lie. I haven't been able to listen to this entire thing. It's obviously in Japanese, but it has been translated. But Shintaro Furukawa usually heads these up and took questions from investors here. And there were a couple interesting ones that I think are worth talking about, one of which kind of is related to what we were just talking about. And that was that he was asked by an investor if, the bigger budgets for AAA games and longer development cycles are going to be a problem. And basically, I think in short, he was essentially like, yes, we're aware that these games take longer to make. We still want to make games, though, with shorter cycles, right? So I think that games like Dragon Drive coming out, maybe Kirby Air Ride, depending on how big that game is, it doesn't really seem like the new Kirby Air Ride would be like a giant AAA Nintendo game, right? Like, I think they're basically saying that their focus is on uniqueness going forward. And that I think we will see giant tentpole games that have enormous development staffs, like we're probably seeing with Donkey Kong Bonanza right now, I would imagine. But I think there's also space for smaller games in the Nintendo oeuvre going forward. Any thoughts on that before we get to the other question here in this shareholder meeting?
I'm looking forward to that, honestly. I think some of our fondest memories with Nintendo and why we like it are because the games that we grew up playing, and those games were not these massive experiences. It was like one or two unique things on a Game Boy Color cartridge that just hooked us. And I am happy to see more of that kind of thing from them for sure.
Yeah, I just want to jump on stuff.
Yeah. Right. I want to jump on stuff and like fly around. Like thinking about like Pilot Wings, games like that. Like those are the kinds of games that I hear when I hear this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a fun, new, innovative way to play a game, and you push it out, see if it gets an audience. And then if it does, then you can expand on those game mechanics and stuff like that and into these bigger AAA games, right? And either way, it sounds like Nintendo is keenly aware that they have now jumped into what is the 10th generation of consoles, kind of the first, console to really be in generation 10, right? So they're very aware of their place in the industry and at least are looking to combat it. But another interesting thing from this investor Q&A was them talking about new movie projects. And this will probably wrap into a little bit of what we're talking about in our main topic as well, as they kind of get away from just games. But they have essentially were like, yeah, we've got a new Mario movie coming out. We've got a live action Zelda movie coming out, but there are other things that we want to make as well. So they basically were not writing anything off on what they want to do as far as movie projects or TV projects are concerned. They obviously own Nintendo Pictures now, which we talked about a little bit last week on the show. And I think another interesting tidbit from this question was that they were basically saying everything that we do outside of games is to support games, right? So it's like the parks, all the movies and everything like that. They're like, we know that we are uniquely a video game company. And they were basically reiterating all this other stuff. We're glad people love it. We're glad it's doing really well. And we're glad it's profitable. But it is all in service of our larger model as a games company. So I found that interesting as well. I think that means that they're not going to be getting into like original IP in a movie. It'll always be kind of some video game IP that they're pushing. Any thoughts on this? I know, Chris, we had you a long time ago on a Nintendo movie pitch episode. What does this make you think of?
I just think that they should get back into making playing cards.
Or do a Hanafuda movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd really like to see that as well. What about you, Summer? What do you think the next like kind of big franchise they might do as a movie or a TV show?
Oh, I would love to see them move into a TV show because I just think there's a lot more or different kinds of opportunity for that. As far as what I think that they will do next, it's hard to not imagine that they aren't going to just continue going through what they consider to be their like big four, but I also have a hard time visualizing them doing some kind of Animal Crossing movie or TV series. I mean, I guess
you do it with adult actors in fursuits if you're gonna.
No, actually, I as soon as I said that out loud, I realized that I used to watch like the Hello Kitty cartoons, and I could see something kind of like that with Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Splatoon is so special to me. I don't know if I could handle a TV series, but at the same time, the direction that they're taking the spin-off game in, like maybe that is what they're thinking.
It'd make for a really cool anime, I think.
Right. Like
anime.
maybe, right. And I could see it. Yeah, exactly. Like kind of being in the like style of I'm thinking about other notable video game animes that we've gotten in the past decade, like Nier Automata and The World Ends With You. And so I'm thinking like Splatoon could kind of go in the way of those.
Yeah, kind of like slice of life, like city pop kind of styling, Yeah.
Right. And just giving us because they do seem to be really invested in giving us so much more world building of the Splatoon universe that I think making it a multimedia property like that, which we already have from the concerts, I think, okay, the more I'm talking about it out loud, the more it makes sense. For Splatoon to like be a TV show. Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
Oh, time to reboot Captain N, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like kind of like a bit what you're saying, but it's also like, I think pretty realistic that they could hit a bunch of nails at once with like a crossover sort of thing, right?
It's a bit in the same way that they just made a live action How to Train Your Dragon movie that is shot for shot the original How to Train Your Dragon movie.
Oh, so you want it live action, that's what you're saying. Do a live action remake of Captain N the Game Master. Actually, that would be pretty fire. Yeah, I agree. I'd still love to see like a big space crossover. Anything that they can do, like crossing over, F-Zero, Star Fox, Metroid, put all of that stuff like within the same world. I think that would be really cool. But, they probably want to parcel that stuff out, because I'm sure they've got all the time in the world to be making moves in Hollywood. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next bit of news. That is about some stuff that analysts have been saying recently and some leaked information from Nintendo themselves. Apparently, the Switch has sold 5.4 million units already. That is the Switch 2 as well. That's obviously what I mean. Nintendo themselves put out a bit of data on their website saying that 5 million units have been sold and then since revoked that information, saying that it was an accident and that was like placeholder data or something like that. But I think it's pretty accurate. And I think that most analysts are actually saying that it's a little bit more, closer to 5.4 million. That makes it a historic launch for this console beyond just that opening week that we talked about and all those sales. Basically, this is doubled where the Switch 1 was at by this point. So that's pretty crazy. Analysts are also saying that shortages of this console may last until spring 2026. So this does kind of maybe seem like one that might be a good idea if you're on the fence and you see one pop up to grab, especially if a lot of the rumors are to be believed about increasing price later down the line. We've been seeing that in almost every other facet of the games industry. And I think Trump just came out and said he's doing an additional 25% tax on stuff from Japan specifically. That was, I think, today, the day we're recording this. So, at any time this price could go up. Do you guys have any thoughts on availability of this console? And do you think people should jump to buy one of these?
Real talk, what's the situation? I haven't had a job in 2 years, so I haven't looked into buying one of these.
Right.
But I do now have a job. So
congratulations.
Can I? Thank you.
I did not know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Good news for me. Is it bad news for me that I'm not going to be able to get a Switch 2 now?
I mean,
I'll say my feelings on it. So based on market conditions and the current global climate and just like Nintendo's ability to produce the Nintendo Switch 2 based on current global conditions, this news does make me feel validated in my decision-making process of like having gotten a Switch 2 at launch. I am, because I, had been on the fence about it. I think I've said this on the podcast previously that I was a little bit on the fence about getting it at launch. But continuing to hear news about potential upcoming shortages. Also, I am ready for the news about just regular Switch products going up in price in Canada to not be isolated. And I am ready to hear that news regarding other Nintendo products in the rest of the world. And I almost wonder that is like their testing facility for raising prices on something in one area.
Yeah.
Basically my decision making was like, I want to get it now while it's available and while it is this price, because the price of nothing is going down. And if and when the Switch 2 becomes available again, I don't know that it's going to be the price it is.
There's also kind of the point as well that I think the Mario Kart bundle, which has the $80 game included with the Switch 2 for $50, it's basically $500 instead of the $450 with just the unit by itself, is not supposed to last forever. Like apparently
it's a timed thing.
Right. I imagine they'll probably keep bringing it back for Black Friday deals and stuff like that. But I don't think that that's going to be like a normal thing come springtime 2026 to be able to get that. Right. So, and like you said, the PS5 has gone up in price in every country other than America so far. I bet that's going to happen. Xbox is all going up in price. The Meta Quest has gone up in price and all that kind of stuff. So I see no reason, especially with these targeted tariffs to Japan specifically, that Nintendo wouldn't increase the price of this console. So for my money, and I can only talk about my money here, so everybody to each their own. But if you're able to get one now and have it not really be a difference down the line, you know what I mean? Then I would say, now is probably a pretty good time to get it. The only thing is, not a bunch of games out right now, obviously, so you're going to feel that drought at the beginning, but there are going to be more games coming. Donkey Kong Bonanza is coming out like in a week almost, a little bit over a week. That's one of my most anticipated games by far of the year. So that's what I would say, Chris, but I don't know what you're feeling hearing that stuff.
So I should head out after this to like a Target or something.
I mean, just look at it. It's hard to find still. There are like restocks happening every once in a while, right? So I would say pay attention to some restocking stuff. I know GameStop's been getting stuff in sporadically, but I don't know. It's a big purchase, so I would never put that on anybody. It's also articles like this only make the situation worse, make people think that there's going to be a drought, right?
Sure. This article could just be adding to the article could be a plant to sell more Switch 2s.
Exactly, and here we are parroting it as well.
I was doing fine at the beginning of this podcast, and now I want to fucking die. So. Can we wrap this up so I could go buy a Switch 2, please?
Welcome to my life. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next bit of news. That being that there have allegedly and pretty conclusively in a lot of ways, I think, been some leaks discovered from like a month ago about games that might be coming to Nintendo 64's NSO Nintendo Classics app. This is kind of a bit of an interesting story here. So there was a Nintendo Classics trailer that released from Nintendo about a month ago, showcasing some of the new features of the N64 app, right? And one of these features that they showed was like the new CRT feature or whatever, where you could put scan lines on your games. And so during that time,
Critical Race Theory?
No, not Critical Race Theory. Cathode ray tube, actually, in fact. But that would be funny. Nintendo has gone woke in the past. But no, I think that during this screenshot, there basically is these like out of focus, like whenever you go to a menu in Nintendo Switch Online, it kind of puts everything out of focus in the background. And people have been claiming that the Super Smash Brothers box art is back there, out of focus. And friend of the show, Andre from Game Explain, actually put out a video where he went through, he basically pulled the screenshot up and then brought in like the art for Super Smash Brothers for the N64, laid it over top of where it is and applied a Gaussian blur to it. And it does straight up look like it's that box art in the background, right? And so since then, people have been doing this with all the other box arts that are in the background of this blurred out video. And they have found multiple games that are not in Nintendo Classics yet. That includes Glover, which would be odd since there is now a version of Glover on the eShop on Nintendo Switch. In addition to that, also Forsaken by Acclaim, Rayman 2, and Donkey Kong 64, all kind of noted in the background from people, I guess, just looking at these blurs of colors and seeing how they might relate to N64 box arts. But, some of this could obviously be placeholder. We've seen Nintendo work with games that never came to NSO in the past through leaked documents. But what do you guys think about this? Is it finally time that we'll be seeing Super Smash Brothers on, an NSO app, like to play Classic on the Switch? What do you guys think?
I think it's hilarious. And yeah, I had kind of assumed that the original Smash was going to be coming to NSO, like from the start of the announcement. I was like, oh, cool. I'll be able to play Smash again. We had it on Virtual Console on the Wii.
That's true.
Like, come on, bring it to this. That was the first time I played it.
Right.
I didn't have it on 64, but I enjoyed it. And I think it's time. Yeah, it's time for it to come over. Although now that we have GameCube NSO, people are just going to want to they're just going to beg for Melee. But,
I know. It's just weird that we've never gotten it.
I wonder if they're waiting to drop both of them together. So they were waiting for GameCube NSO to come out so that way they could do Smash on and N64 and GameCube at the same time. You don't think so?
I mean, maybe. I was shaking my head because that'd be fire as fuck. I think is what I was like, damn, that'd be wild. But it's like, you also think they might want to tease those out a little bit so you get more gameplay out of them. But what do you think, Chris?
The 64 Smash Brothers is the only one I ever got any good at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to learn to wave dash, and you can't make me.
Me either.
Yeah. So just gimme.
Yeah. I want this real bad. Obviously, I would love Melee as well. I think it'd be really great. But for some reason, it feels like there's a reason that these haven't been put online. I can't really wrap my head around what that might be. But something to do with online, maybe, because you would be able to play these games online, which would be insane, But it's like maybe they want to hold online for whatever the modern Smash is that's out, so people play that more. I don't really know. I don't know what it is, but I would love for that to happen. Forsaken and Glover are already on the eShop in different ways. That's never stopped Nintendo from putting classic games on their NSO service in the past. A lot of the Genesis games, for instance, all have versions that are also on the eShop. But Rayman 2, Donkey Kong 64, I could see those coming for sure. Definitely Donkey Kong 64. But maybe we'll be getting some kind of announcement soon with a bunch of games coming out. But it's just funny also that this has been out for about a month and people are only just realizing it. But we'll go ahead and move on now to last couple bits of news here. And that involves some teams that worked on Nintendo games. One of them was the developers for Welcome Tour was finally revealed, and kind of to the surprise of no one, it's been revealed that this is being made by Nintendo Cube, also known as recently ND Cube, and people might know them as the creators of most of the Mario Party games. So they are very versed in mini games and also Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. That's another Nintendo Cube joint. This falls right into their wheelhouse, so that's not super surprising. But Summer, have you played Welcome Tour? Did anybody in your household end up getting this game?
Yeah, someone in my household has this game, and actually, I was looking into today. I was like, oh yeah, I need to try out Welcome Tour. I have not played it yet.
You have overstayed your welcome on the Switch too, without having played Welcome Tour yet. Oh, sorry. I thought you had more.
No, I haven't played it. I don't have any more.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's interesting to see. This was popped up on their website. So good to know. I'm still kind of a Welcome Tour defender a little bit, but lastly, we'll move into a little bit of Donkey Kong Bonanza news, and that is that we now officially know who is the creators of this game, and that it is obviously Nintendo EPD Tokyo, who were the same team that did Super Mario Odyssey. So that is now confirmed. I think that is the least surprising thing. I think that's even less surprising than Nintendo Cube making Welcome Tour is that the new Donkey Kong Bonanza game is being made by the Odyssey team. There's just too much similarity there to be ignored. I think also, if I'm not mistaken, they also did Jungle Beat for the GameCube. I think that actually Donkey Kong Jungle Beat was EPD Tokyo's first game that they made as soon as that studio was opened. So that was kind of interesting. I actually did talk about this a little bit with some of the retro guys that I was at that party with the other day, just talking about kind of the relationship between retro and EPD Tokyo and stuff like that. And they were very, very aware, at least, of kind of Donkey Kong's history within that studio. But Chris, are you excited for this game? Have you been following Donkey Kong Bonanza at all? Is this something that you're pumped for, or is this even your kind of game at all?
I'll be honest, I haven't been following it on account of not thinking I was going to be able to get a Switch 2.
Right.
I've just completely blocked all of this out of a possibility for me. But now that it is, I do like Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm beyond hyped for this game, if I'm honest. They put out a new overview trailer, but it was basically just everything that they showed in the direct for the most part. A couple new shots.
Is it classic, like a classic Donkey Kong Country style? What is it?
No, it's a full 3D platformer made by the Mario Odyssey team.
It's more like Odyssey.
Yeah.
Oh.
It kind of feels like it almost plays like a Disney princess thing as well. Like it's got Pauline, like a young Pauline rides around on DK's back, and they kind of have it's very Wreck-It Ralph inspired, which is funny because that itself is kind of inspired by Donkey Kong in and of itself. But yeah, no, this is by far my most anticipated game of the year.
I'm in.
Hell yeah,
100%. I'm in.
We'll get you your Switch 2 after the show. We'll talk more about that there. But we're going to go ahead and take a little break there. I think that's going to do it for the news because we are going to move on here to our main topic, that being Super Nintendo World and Nintendo theme parks in general, right after this break. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back with Chris McKeever to talk all about Super Nintendo World and Nintendo theme parks and just kind of parks at large. I don't know how deep we want to get into just the general parks rabbit hole of this conversation. But as you guys may know, Nintendo has recently opened up a number of Super Nintendo World locations within Universal Studios theme parks. One of them being Universal Studios Japan. That opened March 18, 2021. That's in Osaka. Universal Studios Hollywood got a Nintendo World February 17th, 2023. That was the grand opening of the American Super Nintendo World. Universal Epic Universe, which is in Orlando. That's the one you just went to, correct, Summer?
Yep.
That opened May 22nd, 2025. That's the largest iteration of the park thus far. At Universal Studios Singapore, there also will be a Nintendo Land as well. Universal Studios Singapore, is that currently open, Chris? Do you know?
I don't know. Actually.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Why the fuck do we even have you on the show? Okay.
I know. Yeah. That was my moment. That was my fucking moment, and I airballed so hard.
No, we're doing great. Also, people should know that during the break, Chris tried very hard to get a Switch 2 from retailers, but it involved signing up for Walmart Plus, which honestly, none of us should really have to do. But we'll go ahead and toss it to you guys. Summer, you just got back from Super Nintendo World. Let's get your thoughts kind of overall on Nintendo's first foray into parks. We'll get into some of the details about what you went through soon, but kind of what was your overall impression of experiencing Super Nintendo World, and would you recommend it to others?
Yeah. So my overall impression is that it is clearly a lot of intentionality went into this park. So much about it is so, I don't know how to say it besides that it is so Nintendo. In addition to the rides, there are other experiences. I think, David, you know this. I think the park in Japan was similar, that there are other experiences besides the rides that are there. And every detail that they have thought out, from the shops to the like hidden, I guess, Easter egg kind of things throughout the park, the treats, the food, it's all done with such intentionality that if you are a diehard Nintendo fan like myself and those of us on this podcast, like if it's something that like if you would go to a Disney park because you like Disney, you should go to a Nintendo park because you like Nintendo.
100%, yeah.
Right. Like, and truly, like, because Super Nintendo World exists, I no longer like feel a reason to go to a Disney park. Like, that is how strongly I feel. That's how strongly I feel about the Nintendo park. Because I like, yeah, Disney parks are fun, but at my core, I am a Nintendo girly, and this is like my experience now. I will say the park is very new. There are my experience from that perspective, there were some parts of it, just like the line waiting. Yeah. It was a rainy day. So there were certain things that at certain times, we were doing the same thing that everybody else was trying to do, which is doing things that, when it was the optimal time to do them, which then led to certain things taking longer. But it is also a theme park in that, like any theme park, at the end of the day, everybody has gone home and you're able to go ride if you're able to stay like up through the park closing. Right, so it's still, there's still that side of it too. So do I recommend it? Like 90%, truly, like, the worst part about it is that it is in Florida. And I know that, like, truly, like, at the time that we were recording this podcast, like, there are organizations that are calling for, tourism stops on certain parts of the United States and the United States in general, right? Like, and if you were a, citizen here, to like try to not go to Florida, I sure had
stop
to
by on your way to
though.
Disney World and Alligator Alcatraz when you're down there, I suppose.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's hard to not acknowledge that part too, right? I had like, as soon as I saw that, and I was like, oh wow, I am going to Florida like right after they built this, and it is only how many like miles from where we're going to be. Like, go ahead. I'll go ahead and voice that acknowledgement that is something that you have to think about.
Yeah. I'll add to some of your thoughts just overall on the park. And then I'd like to get to you, Chris, as a parks expert and a fan of parks in general. I found it to be quite a fun experience. I'm not a huge parks guy, if I'm honest. I went to Universal Studios Japan specifically to go to this. That said, while I was there, I did do a couple other rides as well. There's some cool rides in Osaka. I did the flying dinosaur ride in the Jurassic Park area. I peeked my head into the Hogwarts area, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, that area, and there's definitely some really cool stuff around there. But yeah, like you said, the majority of my time was spent going around this park. And I will say it is small. This is still a part of Universal Studios in all of these areas, right? Now they have, in addition to the whole Mario area, recently added the Donkey Kong area, which I was not able to go to when I went to the Japan park. That was sadly not quite open yet. And I don't think that there is a Donkey Kong section of the park in Hollywood, right? That's just Orlando, correct, where the Donkey Kong area is open. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. You got to go to DeSantisville in order to check out Donkey Kong Country. But I had a really great time. It was just, as a fan, somebody who likes to look around and see all the fun things. And it's just fabrication in general and Imagineers, whatever the equivalent of that is for Nintendo. It's really, really cool to see brought to life a lot of the stuff that you'd seen in all these video games for a long time. It's fun just to try to find Pikmin around the park where there are hidden Pikmin in little alcoves to and fro. But I had a wonderful time at this place for sure. I definitely would recommend it, especially with a bit bigger of an experience like you currently get in Orlando. But Chris, what about you? I know I'd like to hear kind of some of your thoughts about this park as well.
So I am a parks girly more than I am any IP girly.
Right.
I love an immersive experience. I would hope that Nintendo Land would be immersive enough to allow you to forget that you were in the center of our fascist nation. But I understand why it wouldn't succeed fully in that. So I actually haven't been to any of these, citing the 2 years of unemployment that I've previously cited. Mm-hmm. But I have certainly been there in my mind and in many, many YouTube videos. If what you're looking for is Nintendo stuff, there's a shit ton of it. Mm-hmm. I think that I'd love to have a conversation today about sort of gamification in this particular park, and whether or not we feel like it is super successful in like its attempt. Like, obviously, if you have a Nintendo park, you need to gamify it in some way. And as like a creative making a park like that, you need to balance like a gamification that everyone can handle,
right? Or something that's maybe optional enough to where you can just have fun walking around, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. And like, if what you're looking for, like I said, if what you're looking for is like immersive Nintendo stuff, it looks very cool. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I can go a million different directions.
No, now. I mean, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Yoshi ride, or Yoshi's Adventure inside Mount Beanpole. So this ride is, in my opinion, and I haven't been on any of these rides, but like looking at them and hearing people talk about them, I think this is the most successful ride of the three in the park.
Really?
It is. I do, because it is chill. It is vibey. It's got great views of the land, a la the People Mover. But it has this thing where you click eggs when you see eggs. And I'm just wondering if that is a successful gamification.
I wouldn't say so, but I did go on the Yoshi's ride. All my friends did not go on the Yoshi's ride with me. They did not want to go on the Yoshi's ride. And I can't really blame them because I probably waited in line for about an hour and a half or two by myself.
That changes things. That changes things.
On this very brief and very slow tour around the top of the park.
And that's the point, is that it's meant to be an experience. I think this is where we get into maybe a understanding of not all rides are meant to be like this exhilarating shit your pants. And this is more of the, like, as we were waiting in line and then, and also and riding the Yoshi ride, the first time that it got stuck, I was like, oh, this is the small world of Nintendo.
So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that has its place. And when I got to ride Yoshi, it was a 5-minute wait because it had just been after a rain delay. It was 8:30 p.m.
Wow.
And it was nighttime. And we could take our drinks on this ride. I was like, oh, the pro gamer move is getting a cocktail put in your mushroom like cup and getting on Yoshi and looking at the park at night.
That is a vibe.
See, that sounds great.
That is the pro gamer move
100%.
vibe, is to be on there with your honey, to go through the warp tunnel of love into Yoshi's Island. Like it so I ended up loving the Yoshi ride. Now, yeah, to speak to the gamification side of it though, right? I think it is totally appropriate for the young kids who are on it. I think that is a way
to
get young kids.
They're not being given cocktails, I would imagine.
Did you get that golden egg, though? Did you get that golden egg?
Of course I did. Of course I got the golden egg. Yeah.
Well, Maybe I missed this, but can you explain to me some of the egg? Is because there's just like the 3 little eggs on the car.
Yes. And you just press the egg color when you see the corresponding egg.
Okay, I mean, I did that
colored
too.
egg. Sure.
Didn't feel like
you were
much
also
of a game
like,
for me.
Yes. And I'm saying that it's totally appropriate. I think it's an appropriate way to get young kids like engaged with their surroundings while they're on it.
Right.
So that they're like paying attention, and it's something to get them to really look at all of the beautiful animatronics and everything that's going on in there.
There are some really great animatronics for sure. Yeah.
It's cute as hell. The ride is cute as hell.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed the the Yoshi ride. But
Yoshi's Adventure Inside Mount Beeple.
Sorry, excuse me. And and you can take your personal belongings. The park is a very backpack friendly park. I'll say that part too.
I'm always looking for a ride I can bring my personal belongings onto. That'd make a break for me, I think.
Well, it gets so hot. Like we had like our bags, stuff. You want to be able to take like your sunscreen with you, your fans with you, your reusable water bottle, like all of that kind of stuff. Acknowledging that this park specifically has lockers before the more like. So the rides that you can't take your belongings on with you, they have these lockers before them that they use face verification. So that way you're not having to like deal with a key or anything like that to put your personal belongings in. The lockers themselves are quite large. I took like my regular sized backpack with me and was able to put that plus all of the souvenirs that I ended up buying throughout the day into one of these lockers. So like in that regard, super friendly, but that's not the case with the Mario rides. You just put them at your feet, because they're not like
it's chill,
super. Yeah,
it's a small world. I think comparison is pretty apt. I think that small world feels a little bit more like you're going into a thing, and this feels kind of like there's like a couple things at the beginning of the ride that you can look around at, but it doesn't feel like a full contained. Like a small world feels like it's a whole musical animated episode you're driving through or whatever. This feels more like it's like, hey, look at the beautiful park, right? And
it's
I think
a people mover. It's a people mover.
Exactly. And I also did mine at night when I did the Yoshi ride, because by the time I got through the fucking line, it was nighttime. But it was nice to see the park all lit up and stuff at night from a height, right? And this is one ride that is also not available at the Hollywood version of the park. This is only currently in Osaka and in Orlando. So
what's at the Hollywood version of the park?
Just the
Mario Kart,
Bowser's Challenge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we will get to. But yeah, did you have something you wanted to add, Chris?
I did. So in the ride through I watched of this particular ride, there is a moment where you're outside, sort of up above everything, and there's these two trees that sort of like cross each other at the top, and as you pass it, between the two trees, you get a perfect shot of the big like tiki face from Donkey Kong Country, like the weenie from Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
And it's just like this perfect view for this brief moment. And that's the vibe I'm looking for on a Yoshi ride.
Hell yeah. I agree. I mean, what I did like about this, and I will say, like, you know, even when you're kind of just going through the waiting area and you're sorry, I've got, by the way, people listening to the podcast, you should definitely watch the YouTube version, because I do have footage of Summer's experience riding this ride right now, including this gentleman in a bucket hat sitting right next to you making a bunch of funny faces. But but yes, I liked going through the line and seeing all the Yoshi's Island theme stuff, right? I mean, like, I know the Mario Kart ride has a bunch of awesome lore world building stuff in the line going through it. And in fact, maybe we could just start to move to that ride right now.
The lore implications in the Mario Kart line. It's insane.
It's amazing. And in fact, I was kind of bummed at one point because there's a very long wait. But then, you know, there were long periods where they had us going back and forth through this one section. And then there was a whole second part of the line area that we just blew past. And I was like, man, you guys got to spread out the wait time amongst these two sections, because I was trying to take as many pictures as I could going through that second area, because there's just a lot to look at in the Mario Kart waiting line.
So like I said, I haven't ridden it, but my hot take is that the queue of Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge significantly better than the ride itself.
That's interesting. What do you think about that, Summer, having just come back from it?
I was a little burned at when we went to ride Mario Kart, it was raining. So it was where everybody was headed to, because it is the indoor ride at the park.
Right.
So we ended up being in line for close to 3 hours.
Oh, doggy.
Yeah. And then having those like visors on our heads for like almost an hour too, because then that part of the line was like that much. I was like, oh, I don't have to have this on my head like yet. Jesus. It was I totally enjoyed the ride. Don't get me wrong. Waiting in line though it was so interesting. It was so fun walking through Bowser's Goon Cave. Because we found like 12 portraits of Peach. We started to realize what was really going on here.
That's true. He is a simp.
Right? We were like, this is the Goon Cave. But also learning like how well read Bowser is, because a lot of these books aren't just stacked. They like look like they've been looked through, and seeing his plans and everything.
That was cool. I kept taking pictures of all the book spines and just the whole library area, because a lot of them are really funny, and a lot of them, that's where you get a lot of the deep cuts on a lot of the Nintendo references. I
want to write some of those books. Like I'm like, I can go off with this title.
Yeah.
I think in that library there is a piranha plant stained glass lamp.
Yes.
That I would purchase.
Yes.
If given the opportunity.
Yes. Close to the beginning of the Bowser Goon Cave, there was this model, there was like this cardboard model of like a Mario Kart scene. As soon as I saw that, I was like, I want that build kit. Like they need to sell that as like a build kit for me to build at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, same hat on that one for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is definitely a cool ride. I mean, I think that, yes,
sure.
Like walking through is fun, but I did like the AR stuff worked for me. You know, I thought it was really fun. You know, you're in a cart of, you know, I think 4 people, right?
Yes.
At once.
Yep.
This was one definitely, though. I mean, it's over pretty fast, you know, and this is the most gamey ride that they have in the park. You know, it is, you aim at stuff and you press the button to fire your shells at whatever you're looking at, right? And, you know, there's so much going on in the area, but then also you're looking at all the characters that are driving through that you're trying to shoot as well. So it's like, it's almost overwhelming and overstimulating, right?
Oh, see, I thought it was actually a really good combination of the physical elements and the AR. I thought the AR was it took me a second to adjust to that and realize what aspects were what I was seeing that was AR and which aspects were the physical elements that were happening around me. After the first 15 seconds of adjusting to that, I was like, whoa, the timing of it all, the programming of it all, is just, it's executed really well, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I was really impressed with the level of visuals and just how well that part of it ran. Mm-hmm. And just the amount of logistics that has to go into and here is the visor you wear on your head. And then this is the part of the visor that is part of the ride that you attach to the visor. Mm-hmm. That whole aspect of it is just so, just everything that had to go into making all of those decisions to make this ride happen is really wild to me.
Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a similar ride through Pandora at Disney, right? They have a VR sort of thing that you can do as well?
No, there are two Pandora rides in Disney. One is a slow-moving boat ride, which is the vibiest of vibes of any ride ever.
Right.
And then the other is Flight of Passage. And Flight of Passage, you are kind of on a motorcycle thing,
right?
And it's a big screen. It's a big screen.
Oh, okay. Is there a Disney ride that uses VR goggles or AR glasses?
Not. I don't think there's any AR
okay.
that I'm aware of.
Interesting.
In Disney.
Yeah.
Here's my hot take on the Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge ride. And again, I'm the person who hasn't done it, but
go for it.
I think maybe a ride about racing go-karts should go fast.
Yeah.
Should go fast. And it does not go fast.
Well, you know what I will say for it? You're not wrong. It is definitely, well, it feels pretty fast because there's so much to do and look at, and it's gone before you can really take a lot of it in. But what I will say for it, and I'll let you jump in here in a second, Summer, but it's for me, so much less than the racing, especially given that there are 4 people to a car, it really does capture the items and the frenetic nature of playing Mario Kart. And I think it actually does that really, really, really well. And I think in a way that I was very surprised by. And so much so, like I said, to me, it was a little bit overwhelming. And that's just because I was waiting in line for so long and it was over so fast. I was like, you got to let me go through one more time. You know what I mean? I think it would be great if everybody could just get 2 rides on the motherfucker, but I get why they don't. But what did
that makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if the Florida one is a little longer then, because I didn't feel like it was too short necessarily. And I was just going to kind of say something similar, that maybe it is something about the gamification of it that doesn't make it feel like it's slow. I guess that is that aspect of it is probably difficult to capture in a video posted online, how fast the ride physically is going. This ride is obviously very based on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. All of the visuals are straight from that. They even have the Mii rider suits in one of the rooms that you go through on display. And based on the things that you're saying, I don't think it's out of the question that maybe they end up having an additional Mario Kart ride that is actually go-karts that's more Mario World inspired.
God, man, 2 Mario Kart rides though. That would be crazy. There's so many more Nintendo
but it's the thing
to do, you know?
Sure, but it's the thing that makes them so much money. And I think they still have a good amount of room in this park
you're
to
not
do
wrong.
Other things.
You're not wrong though in saying that about Mario Kart World. That did strike me as funny. And it's also in the Mario movie that came out last year, it's the carts go, or the Peach's bike goes into, hover mode and all that kind of stuff. It's very Mario Kart 8 coded, and they just threw all that out with Mario Kart World, right? So
it's the game we had for 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. But I did very much enjoy this ride though. And I think it is pretty freaking cool.
Since we're talking about the rides, then I would like to also talk then about the Donkey Kong Minecart ride.
Donkey Kong Country Minecart Madness.
Sorry, Chris. God.
Okay. Tell me about that. And I'd like to hear more about the Donkey Kong Country part of the park as well, because I did not get to experience that at all.
Sure. And so this is the ride that I wouldn't say there really is a gamification aspect of it. There's a storyline with it, which I like rides that do that. It has basically like a storyline that is Donkey Kong inspired. Yes, Chris.
I'm sorry. I'm obsessed with this storyline. I wrote it down.
Please.
The storyline is you are protecting the golden banana from the Tiki Tak tribe and Tiki Tong, who is a drum.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the plot of Returns, right?
So this ride has a plot, therefore it does not have a gamification aspect of it. It is a cart ride. So it's like it is a roller coaster ride. I loved this ride. And if I wish I could have ridden it a second time. Like after I got off of this ride, I was like, this is the ride I want to try to get back to at the end of the night, to ride a second time, like at night, because it was so enjoyable. A lot of the time, we have this idea about roller coasters that if they don't like go upside down, that they're like not like exciting enough. The visuals and the like trick outs on this ride for like the way that it's set up, like it's meant to make you think that like the cart or the track like disappears at certain moments, is executed so well. Like I'm an adult and I had gone on a coaster like earlier that day that like really made me go, oh, I forgot what roller coasters are like, that like, you know, went upside down several times. I got on this ride and was still like, like every time that the track disappeared on this ride. It was very immersive, very stimulating, very like, wow, this ride was worth the wait. And there was a delay while we were in line for this ride. The line waiting for this one was also very fun. The animatronics, like waiting for it. You get to see Cranky Kong and whoever the parrot is. I'm sorry.
Squawks.
I'm still learning. I am new getting into DK now. Literally, I had said like while we were in the DK section of the park, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I might like be a DK girly now that
fucking
like thanks to this park, because because the park itself, the DK park, like I get Chris speaking to what you were saying just about immersive experiences. The like immersion of DK was so compelling for me. It was so great. But yes, but specifically the ride, definitely. So my favorite ride in the park, because it was just it was really exciting, but also like it told a good story and yeah, it was really, really good. Animatronics were really good. Lots of surprises.
So the only complaint that I've heard about this ride is that it's like a real spine adjuster. Did you find that it was like a pretty rough roller coaster?
I'm probably not as educated and worldly when it comes to coasters. So when you say spine adjuster, I guess my input on that is I found it to be exciting as a coaster. I don't know. I think that was I think it's intentional. I think it's meant to be kind of jostling because you're in a mine cart. Like that's not supposed to be. Right. That's not supposed to be like
is this going to fuck up my disc? Is what I guess. Yeah. Is this going to fuck up our discs?
I think it's going to, in the sense that like any exciting roller coaster is going to. Like I went on a coaster.
Get workers' comp here.
Chris, what is the coaster I went on earlier that day? You told me.
It's in Celestial Park. Hold on.
Sorry. I'm asking the expert that hasn't gone to the park. Like literally.
Stardust Racers.
I went on Stardust Racers earlier that day. And like while I was on that coaster, like in the first 10 seconds, I was like, okay, all I had to eat today was a scone. And at this point, that was 4 hours ago. I should be fine. Like, like
no, I mean, the Jurassic Park ride I went on was crazy. It was one of the craziest roller coasters I've ever done. The Flying Dinosaur in Osaka. It was like, so cool. And so I'm kind of glad I did get that out of the way early. It was like I went and like did that and did the line and got my kicks, and then I could just kind of like be chill for the rest of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I definitely ate way too much at Toadstool Cafe to be able to go on Stardust Racers.
Yeah, well we'll get to that in a second.
Yes.
But yeah. Maybe is there anything that you wanted to add, Chris, about this minecart ride in particular?
No, Summer said a lot of really good stuff about just like its theming and immersion, and like I don't know if it ruins the magic to know that it's like two tracks, right? So there's a track sort of sideways underneath and then a big arm, and then your coaster is sort of like on top of that. over the fake sort of minecart track.
Right, that's how it can kind of break away.
Do the jumps and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't look so good from the side, but like when you're on it, like those tricks really, really work. And it's really, it's well themed, and it looks dope. It looks awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, there is a bit more oomph to it. Like, it's a faster ride. It definitely feels more like a roller coaster, you would say, than the other two rides, Summer.
Yes, and based on seeing and that
more than Yoshi's Adventure.
The point that if there's a point that I make, about this coaster, it's that seeing it from the rest of the park made me think that like, oh, this is the coaster in the Nintendo World part of the park. It is going to be like a baby coaster. And then I rode it, and like it subverted my expectations. That's is what good. I will say. It's obviously like, again, it doesn't go upside down. It doesn't have like crazy turns, but the actual like movement and immersion of it was executed really well.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Donkey Kong area, because I just kind of want to get your take on that in general, because I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan. And it's funny that also, we were talking about Mario Kart 8 now being usurped by Mario Kart World. It really feels like this entire Donkey Kong Country part of the park is based on Donkey Kong Country Returns, like the retro games made here in Austin, Texas. And yet we have a whole brand new Donkey Kong that is probably going to be way more popular than those games ever were, coming very soon with a whole brand new design and everything like that. So what's your take on that? And then also just overall, how did this park like make you want to be a Donkey Kong fan? Because that's what I'm really interested in.
So to address the first part of what you're saying immediately, while the Donkey Kong part of the park already feels so like developed and immersive, there is also still a lot of space in this park. And I don't think they're done with it. I think they are still planning on adding things based on the game that's coming out to this park, because there is physical space still in the Donkey Kong area.
It's just like crazy that they made this whole like incredible like Donkey Kong suit and everything that's like based on the old design. It's just like such a fast turnaround to completely like revamp a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? It just seems like it's all very tiki themed still, right?
Sure. Yeah. It was it's just I think it was the immersion of it that really sold me. There is this experience in the Donkey Kong part where there's 3 sets of bongos, DK bongos, that if you play them with 2 other people, so if you have 3 people on each set of bongos, if you play them correctly, like with each other, if your timing is right, then you get the rhino to come out.
Rambi.
That's what it,
Rambi.
It's Brandy's bongo breakout. You're describing Brandy's bongo breakout.
I didn't learn the names of anything. I was just at the park experiencing life, okay?
No, it's good.
Some of us are stuck at home, okay?
Yeah, this is why we have Chris on, to like give the official names that you glaze over because you're overcome with joy and excitement in the park itself.
Another experience is finding the letters for Kong in the park, just like you do in the original Donkey Kong Country games. And this is a power band activity, collecting the letters for K-O-N-G. And there, a couple of other experiences like that in this park as well.
Did you get the food? Did you get the food at Jungle Beat Shakes?
I sure did. We got it was actually while we were in line for the minecart ride that 2 of our friends were like, we're gonna go get the special DK treat just so we have that for while we are in line. So some of us held our spot in line, and some of our friends went to go get the special the special treat. I have a firm memory implanted in my brain of getting video called by one of the friends that was like, do you want the special cup? And in all caps, I was like, yes, I need cup.
I want cup.
Need this. I need cup. The special. I need the like special cup.
I think you need. I think I want cup. I think I deserve that cup.
Yes. I was like, anything that is like a special souvenir, I have to have it. And I'm like, again, was not a DK person going into this. Didn't think that was going to be something that I needed. I am in line for this exciting ride after being like, in the entire park, and I was like, I need the DK cup, because that's how they get you. The ice cream is classic banana flavored. I do want to point that out, that it is like the flavor that bananas were, however long ago, which is like the same flavor that our banana candy is. Yeah. So, and then it's like over a soda. It's got actual like gold like edible gold sprinkles in it, which I thought was like a fun, nice touch. It also comes with a collector spoon. Very exciting. So yes, had the special DK Park treat. What else do I want to say about the DK Park? It was just visually great. And we didn't get to see Donkey Kong because at that point sweat was just pouring out of me too much to wait in the sun for that.
You did DK first and then you went to, is that what it was? What was the order?
DK was the first. It was the first ride that I waited for.
Okay.
I had already like kind of walked through a lot of the Mario part of the park, but we decided that we wanted to wait in the line for the DK ride first.
Well, let's move it along here because we could talk about this forever, but no, it's okay. I want to keep this a little bit more formatted. So it's, in addition, we were talking about food here. So obviously you also went to the Toad's Cafe.
Yes.
That was one that I sadly was not able to make. I know in Japan, at least, there was a whole like queuing app that you had to download, the Line app, in order to get in. Stuff is kind of like that in Japan, like for instance, like the Switches right now, if you want to get a Switch 2, you have to do a lottery in order to get it in Japan.
Wow.
Basically. Like it's just like impossible. So that's kind of par for the course there. What was your experience getting into Toad's Cafe? And was the food any good?
Yeah, the experience getting in was magical. Once you get in, the first room of the actual Toad's Cafe, the Toadstool Cafe, is meant to replicate the little huts that you find in the Mario games. That it has like one large present and one small present, and there is a power band activity in there to receive basically like items based on which one that you choose, right? So you, in the games you can you get like basically a random item, and it plays the music from that. So just that as an immersive experience as a Nintendo like Mario person was like, we were already all on the brink of tears at that point. And then after you get through that room, you get into a room with a with Chef Toad, an animation kind of explaining the restaurant and the dishes that you're going to get to like choose from, like talking about what the specials are. So we are still like visually extremely stimulated at this point. We're just in wonder and awe. You walk through to a counter that looks like it's like the to-go counter that is where you see like all of the like I guess consumable items from the Mario games like all on shelves, which is super adorable. And then you get to the actual dining area, which is just all of it is just so cute. There are like basically meant to look like windows into the kitchen and outside of the cafe that you can see the Toads actually like working on the food. And every so often the lights go down. I was like, Rainforest Cafe. Every so often the lights go down and there's this whole simulation of Bowser attacking the cafe. Bullet Bills like go through the kitchen and you see the Toads like, and that's why the food was delayed and things like that. We got at my table, we ended up getting most, I think, of the menu. We were quite impressed with the quality of food at this location.
I'm hungry. I'm looking at pictures right now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We all went into this expecting it to mostly just be a fun visual thing that just, satisfied us because it was in fact food. It was all quite good. And my friends did make a joke about the thing that I decided to order, which was like more like it. There wasn't an image of what I ordered in the menu line. And I was like, I don't know, this sounds like it could be fun. I'm just curious about what it would be. Most of my friends got like spaghetti or burgers. And then one of my friends joked about like, Summer's over here eating freaking French Toad cuisine. Because of like the presentation of it. I was so startled. And it was really quite good. I didn't know that I needed to get the collector's cup. And then I saw that literally all my friends were ordering one. So I was like, okay, no, I also need to have the collector's cup. And then I realized that you get to refill it literally throughout the entire park.
Yeah. That's actually pretty nice. I wasn't able to do that. I did do the little Yoshi snack area. I don't know if they had that in the
you get a red shell calzone?
I did get a red shell calzone, actually. Thank you, Chris. My goodness gracious. Your notes are thorough. So I was able to get some food, and I did enjoy it. Actually, it wasn't a calzone. It was a yakisoba, I believe. It had like the
they have the calzones in the Florida part.
It was Japanese, yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously that seems like a really great time. I had similar experiences in the Pokemon Cafe when we went in Tokyo to that. It seems like it's a very Japanese sort of, they do a lot of these themed cafes in Japan. So bringing that in just obviously makes a ton of sense inside a park. You know, there's so much more we could talk about. Obviously there's lots of shops for, you know, different doodads and whatnot. And, you know, all of these are unique to the park as well. I know they cycle through a lot of the stuff that you could buy in these merch stores, and all the different parks, like the Japanese parks, the one in Orlando and the one in Hollywood, all have different items in them as well. The One Up store and the Funkies, whatever, in the Donkey Kong area. But before we get into some more of the gamification stuff, because I do want to bring us back to that as we're kind of wrapping this up. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add just about some of these experiences?
I just wanted to mention that the Toadstool Cafe has a cake that costs $23.
And it is a large cake, and we didn't finish it.
You got the Princess Peach cake?
We got the Princess Peach cake. There were 6 people at our table. We did not finish that cake. It was huge.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good deal then.
Maybe everybody should have gone with the tiramisu question blocks.
So we also had 2 tiramisu question blocks at the table.
Well, that'll explain why you didn't finish the cake then.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Because I ordered the mushroom garlic knots. I also got the mushroom soup, and then I also got we were hungry, and we also wanted to see all of the food that was on the menu.
See, I feel I'm worried I would leave quite fat. You know, that I would feel very full and sluggish for the rest of the day.
Yeah. I acknowledged that we were still going to be quite active for a while, because shortly after that, and I can bring us back to the gamification side of things. I was able to finish up. They have all of these different activities to unlock these coins for the Bowser Jr. challenge. Did the park in Japan have this, David? Did you?
I think so. Is it part of the app? Was it in the Universal app? I know that's what a lot of the missions were involved.
That's how you
there.
tracked. The app was how you were able to track your progress in it. Yeah, and collect the keys in order to unlock the Bowser Jr. challenge. I did get the power band because I wanted to have the full experience. And I was also convinced that it was an investment for me because I realized this is probably going to be an annual thing for me. Also, the power band is an amiibo. So I will be able to use it in that way with my Nintendo Switch as well. But
which one did you get?
I got Daisy. I dressed up as Daisy for the park, so I got the Daisy power band.
Viewers of the YouTube version will have already known.
Yes, and I didn't. I don't have a Daisy amiibo yet either, so it works out for me in that way too, since it works as the Daisy amiibo.
I got a Mario band, and I also I love Mario, man. I do just love the main man Mario. I know it's a little basic at this point, and also while I was there at the Mario Kart area, I did buy a Luigi hat. So I was repping both brothers while I was there. With my fit.
Mario's a cipher for the human condition, baby.
I've always said that. Yeah.
So after you collect these 3 keys, basically doing these Bowser minion challenges throughout the park.
The Goomba Crazy Crank.
Yes, I did the Goomba Crazy Crank.
That one was fun,
Punch.
actually. Yeah.
See, the one that I had the most fun with, and Chris, you can say what the real name of it is. You had to smash these clocks for a piranha plant.
Yeah, you're talking about the piranha plant nap mishap.
Thank you.
So there was that. You never know these when you're there, dude. It's crazy.
Well, actually, okay. So I think my favorite one was actually because it was another break from the rain. There is this entire simulation of getting smaller, in
the Ba-Bomb Kaboom room.
Yes, because that one was a very thorough, and I think people just didn't know it was there, so it wasn't super crowded.
I missed that when I was there in Japan. I didn't even find it.
Yeah. See, yes. And that made it even nicer because we were able to take our time through it, really take it in, and it was just it was a really fun experience. So after you collect all of the keys, then you are able to go through the Bowser Jr. challenge, which as long as you have someone with you that has collected the keys, so let's say you're at the park, you didn't want to get the power band, you are able to go with somebody that has the power band that has the keys as well. So was able to bring two other friends in that didn't have the power bands, and they could still do the activity with us. And that was just really fun and cute, going through about what was basically, it was great getting to see Bowser Jr.'s lair after seeing Bowser's lair, getting this idea of, and you're again, the lore implications because of all of the paintings that are in there of Bowser Jr.'s upbringing thus far. Incredible. Love to see it. Love that little guy. And like, he just wants to also have his little like moment too.
He's a Nepo baby, He's always living in his father's shadow.
I was quite impressed with that physical like activity as well. It wasn't anything like super grandiose, but the technology and programming aspect of it and visually, it was quite good.
Well, Bowser Jr. does a lot of street art.
Yeah.
He's canonically a painter. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I guess, overall, just kind of taking all this in, right? And obviously we now have this Nintendo park. We've got the Donkey Kong area, the Mario area. Like you said, there were maybe space for a Hyrule area, which I think would make a ton of sense for Nintendo to do. It would make sense for them to kind of fill out the wristband activities and kind of the gamified stuff that you could do within the park.
There is a section of one of the shops that has stained glass, and there is Zelda representation. In that stained glass.
Yeah. And I think it would be stupid for them not to do it at this point. Like, honestly, it kind of makes more sense for a Hyrule park before Donkey Kong. It's kind of crazy that there's a whole Donkey Kong area before there's even a Zelda area, right? I think obviously now that we know that there's a giant Donkey Kong first party AAA 3D platformer coming out this year, this whole lead up of all this Donkey Kong stuff up to this point has, like we said before, everything that Nintendo does outside of the games is all in service of their games business, right? Like, they want to have Donkey Kong in the forefront of people's minds, and they haven't really put this amount of work into Donkey Kong in a really long time. So I would totally imagine that whatever next game they're planning with Zelda, we'll see the park come out leading up to that. You know what I mean? But even if they didn't, I think that it's a big enough franchise to where I think that's a slam dunk. And I think people are going to want to go buy a big rupee that you can sip fucking juice out of or whatever, at the Lon Milk Ranch, cafe or whatever it is that they have there. The possibilities are endless, right?
The problem with using a theme park as advertising for your video games is that theme parks are forever. Right?
Yes.
They're never going to reskin the Donkey Kong land to be more like Donkey Kong Bonanza. It will always be what it is now.
Right. Which is why it's kind of confusing to me a little bit. But either way, they could do updates, right? But yeah, like you said, I think these rides are kind of here to stay, or at least for the next decade. They're not going to put all that like effort into something and then phase it out so quickly before the majority of people are able to actually experience it, right? But I do want to get y'all's overall take, and maybe Chris, we could start with you on just kind of experiencing a park versus kind of having a gamified experience. Because I know for me, I kept wanting to just look at all the stuff and touch all the stuff and hit my wrist on the fucking thing with my little wristband. Like, I wanted to do all that stuff, but there's an app where you can track all this stuff and what's going on. I never wanted to open that. I was like getting kind of overwhelmed with the idea that, oh shit, there's stuff that I should be doing. Like, what do you think overall is your relationship with gamification and theme parks?
Yeah, it's really tough, right? So it all, like, historically, there was this big fight by the Disney company to sort of like remove people from their phones in the park. And eventually they were like, well, that's not working.
Right.
Let's get people deeper into their phones with our shit. Right. So like the Disney Play app came out, I believe well before the Universal app came out. But like for this land in particular, like a video game land, it makes so much sense to me to create a gamification system and like tracking high scores and things. Like all of that tracks thematically, right?
Right.
So I'm conflicted because I don't want to be on my phone at a theme park, right? I don't. I want to be looking up at all the shit to look at. But if you're making a video game theme park, like there better be some games involved. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear sort of, your experience as to whether or not you felt like, it's like I started this question kind of in the beginning of the segment was like, do you think the gaming bits felt gamey enough and like worth it? Because you do have to sort of live that balance between like it being a fun game and your grandmother can do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Summer?
Yeah, I think that there's totally a balance to be had. I found myself, the only time I checked the app was when I I like kind of when I was in line waiting to see like what ride times were, because that's like another feature of the app. It's not just Mario. But also I didn't really check it until I was getting towards the end of the day, and I was like, oh yeah, I still have that Bowser Jr. experience. Let's track my progress on that so far, and see, oh, okay, I do still need one more key. Let's pick out another activity to do so we can go do that. And then I wasn't really checking scores. Like, and all of it, this was my whole friend group. We all were comparing our scores at the end of the day, like after we all got home, of like, oh wow, like how did you get that many coins today? And so I think there's like, I liked having that aspect of it, but I didn't find it like consuming me while I was there. I was still like so involved, and I was still using my power band and everything. But I was really only checking the app when I wasn't like immediately engaged with something. So like certain moments when I was in line, and then like at the end of the day when I was like, what do I still have to get done?
What's the waiting situation for a piranha plant nap mishap, for example? Like, how many folks are ahead of you? Like, you have to chill and watch.
You're talking about the little individual games you're talking about?
Like the mini games.
A couple minutes.
Yeah, I would
couple
say
of minutes.
For me, it was probably around like 10, 15 for each, maybe.
Wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot quicker. And it was, it was also raining on the day that I went in Osaka, a famously rainy country, Japan, and very humid as well. So similar biomes in both of these places. And so I thought it would be a lot easier to get around because it was like pouring, but it was still packed, right? I think that people very much were braving the wet at this time as well.
We were all
constantly braving the wet.
Yeah, we were all in our ponchos. All we were taking the time to put our ponchos like on and off as we went in and out of places.
I bought a Snoopy one when I got into the park. They were selling Snoopy ponchos. So
I love that. Nice. I didn't think the wait wasn't that bad for us either. I mean, like, and it was truly like a couple of minutes.
Well, let's move to wrap this up. I mean, obviously there's so much more we could say about this, but I would like to get into just if we think that it is a good idea for Nintendo to be moving into this space, right? And if we think that this is a natural progression for them. I mean, obviously a lot of people have referred to Nintendo as like the Disney of video games for a very long time. And I think it does make sense. Is it working on you? Do you see that this could be something that would funnel more people into games? Like, do you see it working as like kind of like a new business venture for Nintendo? And I guess, does it feel natural?
I think it's long overdue for Nintendo. For sure. And that was something that I found myself saying while I was at the park was, wow, this is so overdue. I can't believe that this is my first time like getting to like that. This is the first time I am doing this, going to a Nintendo park, right? At this age. So to answer that part of the question, like, yes, it's clearly working. As far as like, in the other direction, though, especially based on some of the things that Chris has said, I don't know that it's an advertisement for video games. I think it is still a fantastic immersive experience on its own. I think people who aren't necessarily into Nintendo can still get a lot out of this park, because I do think that it has a lot of cultural value still. I thoroughly enjoyed going to another part of the park. One of the other parks in Epic Universe, Dark World. I'm not necessarily like a monsters girly, but the way that was so immersive, like when I found out, the animatronics were like supposed to like the best of that we've ever had in that park, I was like, well, I have to see that. I'm not like rushing to go, redecorate my room to be Frankenstein themed, but I sure love no, I'm not. And I'm not like a converted like horror fan or anything, but I sure loved it. And I think the reverse is going to be true for the Nintendo part of the park. I don't know that it's making people video game fans. I think people are still going to enjoy it and still consume it though.
Or maybe subconsciously they'll be a little more prepared to ingest Nintendo content in the future, or
maybe
be more brand aware potentially. Chris, what about you? Do you think that this is a natural progression for Nintendo? And then just kind of quickly too, what else would you like to see Nintendo do for Nintendo World?
For sure. First of all, I want to say that the Bob Hoskins Mario movie set this part back 30 years.
Yeah, you're right.
That is the butterfly effect as to why this just happened within this decade.
Yeah.
It's because of that movie.
I think you're
full
right,
stop.
Actually.
No questions.
Yeah.
Should Nintendo be making theme parks? Fuck yeah. I don't give a shit who makes theme parks. Just make more theme parks. I want to be in them. And then what should they do more in here? The Zelda land seems really cool. I was sort of thinking about like what could go in there as far as like attractions are concerned. And I'm having a hard time coming up with like a good like ride, but like a puzzle dungeon, like a puzzle dungeon walkthrough attraction would be really, really cool.
Epona's Chase. Horse riding. Yeah.
You
could make it kind of like a Ren fair with like,
my first thought was horses.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Give me a Pikmin land, I guess.
Yeah.
Give me anything. I don't care. I don't care. Give me an F-Zero ride.
I kind of can't see Pikmin happening, but I do see Pikmin being in every part of all of these parks.
Sure, yeah.
I see them being like the little miniature world beneath the world.
Little
right.
guy, yeah.
And what I could see, and I just can't believe, and I know this isn't Nintendo actual, but it's like, where the fuck is the Pokemon theme park, man? Like, Japan has all these Pokemon stores, all these Pokemon cafes. It's like a theme park. It seems like they are so behind on that. And it's like, if I were Nintendo and I've got my 33% buy-in on the Pokemon company, I'd be like, hey guys, look at how successful this park's doing. We got to get this Pokemon thing going ASAP.
And it is all Bob Hoskins' fault.
I do have a hard time seeing them put Pokemon in this park specifically. It's just so
I think it would be its own
separated.
thing. I think it would have to be its own thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we workshopped while we were waiting in line for the minecart ride was I could see them implementing Inkopolis and a stage where there are regular performances from the Splatoon idols.
Wow.
I could see, and I think, isn't there a stage that's already a roller coaster or like that is an amusement park in Splatoon?
Yeah.
Right?
There's Wahoo World. Yeah.
So that almost
that
feels like and then I could see like certain weekends having events that they call Splatfests that are like extra enhanced gamification of that part of the park.
Wow. Well, we'll have to see how well the Splatoon anime does and if it warrants an entire park to itself. But I think that's we're gonna have to call it there because we're running a little long here. But that's gonna do it for our main topic. Have you, listener, been to Super Nintendo World, and what kinds of additions to the park would you like to see Nintendo bring in the future? Please let us know in the comments of this video on YouTube or in our Discord, anywhere like that. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, we're going to take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the games we've been playing recently. So I mostly have been playing a bunch of little games here and there. I did 100% Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So that's exciting. Just in time for that party with all those Retro Studios employees where I came in a Donkey Kong Country hat and because I knew my audience and I couldn't tell if they thought I was a loser or if I was really, really cool. But other than that, I have been playing one other game, and that is a game called Typewriter that has been on my Switch wish list for a really long time. It's like $1.99 in the eShop right now with the summer sale, and it is like an educational game for the most part. It is a platformer where you play as a semicolon or a colon, I forget which one is which, and you are going through the history of typography. straight up. You are like learning about all the different kinds of fonts. I'm still early in the game right now, so I'm learning about the Gutenberg Bible and the early printing press, and then it gets into different kinds of serif and sans serif fonts, and so it's just kind of fascinating to play a game that is a platformer, but has very light platforming, but more than anything is just kind of a bit of a history book into the history of typography. And I've actually been enjoying that quite a bit. It's very cheap. I would not buy this game for more than a couple bucks, if I'm honest, but it is on sale quite a bit. Definitely worth picking this one up. I really enjoyed this quite a bit. And I'll probably finish it pretty soon because it does not seem like a very long game. Summer, what about you? What have you been playing recently?
Yeah, not a ton because, I was in Florida just like celebrating video games as opposed to playing them. We did play a lot of Mario Kart World though. When we weren't doing other activities, we were all playing. We had the host family had 2 separate living rooms set up. Like they built another living room like in their home space, like to have like 2 rooms of Mario Kart World going on. But on the plane ride home, I finally finished chapter 2 of Deltarune. So I was able to start chapter 3 of Deltarune. And the story just keeps ramping up. I highly recommend it. I am hoping to, once this episode is done, finish chapter 3. And also hoping to just a gaming update of mine. I did leave this weekend. I am now the proud owner of a Miu Mini Plus. Hey. So I am going to be loading that up probably with Chrono Trigger because I think that is the next game for my game club. Cool. We'll be excited to give updates on that soon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very good. What about you, Chris? You been playing anything cool recently?
Yeah, I'm really into this game called The Bazaar. It's a
with 2 A's.
Yes. It's a roguelike auto battler game. You're a fella at a bazaar and you're like buying and selling little items, and the items do damage or gain health or whatever, and you're just trying to make better builds than the other person. I'm really obsessed with that game right now. Also, I am playing Split Fiction, which is the successor of It Takes Two. One of the hardest plots to ever describe to anyone.
Oh, it's like 2 authors, right?
Yeah, so 2 authors get tricked into going to this big corporate publishing house that's actually some sort of like science experiment thing where they put authors into goo bubbles and extract their ideas directly from their brain and publish them.
Let's go.
But these 2 particular authors, one of them felt like maybe this wasn't the best idea. They were forced into the same bubble. So the machine has never dealt with 2 authors, one goo bubble. And that is the inciting incident.
Is quite an elevator pitch for the plot of this game.
Exciting incident of the plot of this game. And then I'm also playing a little bit of Peak. Have you guys heard of Peak?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've not played. That's like one of these kind of cooperative climbing games, right?
Yeah, it's a cooperative climbing game. It's it's like a little bit survival-y and a little bit platformy. It's fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I got to check that one out sometime. Also, I've been looking for somebody to play Split Fiction with, but it sounds like you're already taken.
I own it. I played It Takes Two 4 times. I'm happy to run it the opposite.
Would you play it with me again?
100%.
Okay, hell yeah. Let's do that. I think that'd be a really fun time. But that's going to do it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on this episode and talking with us about parks. I kind of feel like we could do a whole follow-up episode about parks at some point soon, but maybe not soon, but at some point.
We still need to do Disney Tsum Tsum 2.
That's true. They need to release Disney Tsum Tsum 2 before we can do that. But I'd like to also give a thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to find me online, I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji.
You can find me at Weebwitch.
And what about you, Chris? Where can people find you online?
Please don't look for me online.
There you go. Do not look for that man. He is a fart in the wind. But if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheadz.com, and we have a Discord, a Patreon, and a Facebook group. We'll have links to all 3 of those in the description of this episode as well. as a donation link for some of the survivors of the flooding in Central Texas. But please join us over on our Discord. We would love to have you there. It's such a wonderful community. Chuck in $1 on our Patreon if you're feeling so inclined. We'd love to have your financial support there. And give us a review on Apple, Spotify. Leave a comment on YouTube. Like and subscribe over there as well. We do put a lot of work into the video version of this show as well, so we would love to have your support over on the YouTube. And it really helps growth if we can get some likes and subscribes over in that area of the internet as well. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, gang. What a great time. I hope you enjoyed hearing these kind of travelogue style episodes. I feel like you and I both have a couple of these now. Summer, we got to do more of these in the future as we do more gaming related content. But until then, you guys know the drill. Be safe. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Why don't you open up your own fucking theme park and make $1 billion? Can't be that hard. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.